Welcome to Souhan Unfiltered on the Alive and Social Network. This is Jim Souhan, and Mike Grant's making me feel much better about myself. Mike Grant might be the only person with a messier office than me. It just shows the old saying is true. Clean desk, empty mind. I'm going to go with that at least. Anyway, I had a chance to sit down and talk with Mike for about an hour at his office at Eden Prairie High School. Mike, of course, is the Eden Prairie High School coach, who on Friday night is going for his 4th straight and 10th overall championship at Eden Prairie. Obviously, he played at St. John's, coaches St. John's. He is the son of Bud Grant. And I'm just going to get right to it. I've spent time with Mike before. I spent a week with his team before a championship game in the 90s, just seeing how he does things. I love the way he treats kids. But most of all, he's a great storyteller. And I don't know if I've ever heard a better set of stories than the ones he is about to tell you about his father and about his future. He might not stay in coaching. He might go into the woods and spend a fall with his father and write a book about it. This is remarkable stuff. I appreciate Mike taking the time. We're here with Eden Prairie football coach Mike Grant. Mike, I haven't talked to you for a while. Looks like you're going to keep this job a while, huh?
Well, I don't know. I got everything off my wall.
Uh-oh, you moving?
Well, we had to paint this summer, so paint and new carpet, so... you never know in this world, and it's not about coaching, it's about, people ask me all the time, how long am I going to do this? And my standard answer is, today's my last day. And then they don't know what to say. You just hit them with, today's my last day. It's interesting. I love our kids, I love being around our kids. I love working with these kids. I tell people all the time, my best 2 hours of my day are being on the field with the kids, that's what keeps you going, rather than shuffling papers. Shuffling papers and dealing with budgets and dealing with everything else. What I'm meant to do is be around talking to kids. That's who I am, and so I enjoy that. But there's a lot of things I enjoy in life. And I know my dad, and I think he retired at 57 or 58, and I'm 57 right now. And it's my dad always says, you don't retire from something, you retire to something. And so I look at all the opportunities he had to do so many things since he retired, the second time probably, not the first time, but the second time, and I say, you know what, there's a lot of things I want to do. I got a lot of things I want to do when I grow up.
Like what? Like what?
Well, a lot of hunting I like to do.
Okay. Is that what Bud retired to?
Yeah, he hunted to the outdoors. Yeah. It's interesting because my dad's brother is 10 years younger. Okay, so he's 77. Retired out in California. My wife and I went out to see him. And hadn't, this is a few years ago now, but hadn't spent a lot of time with him because he always lived in California. He'd come and visit, and we really loved Jack. He's a great guy. But he talked about my dad in ways that no one else had talked about because he was 10 years younger. And when I remember when my dad... He tells the story of my dad now talking to my grandpa. Now, I never knew my grandpa. He died the year I was born. My grandpa was, from all accounts, the superior assistant fire chief, ran the baseball field, was outgoing, very much outgoing, very different than my dad. And he was trying to explain to him why he should go to college. My dad didn't want to go to college. Got out of the war, he wanted to go hunting. He just wanted to go live in the woods. And my uncle telling the story of them arguing, fighting, that you got to go to college. My dad said, I want to go be in the woods. I want to go hunt and be in the woods. And my brother said that's truly what he wanted to do. He'd disappear for days when he was 15 or 16 and be gone. And they were fine. He'd be out hunting and fishing, and really where he has his cabin now. That's where he would go. And my grandpa saying, what are you going to be, a hunyuk your whole life? And I said to my uncle, I said, what is a hunyuk? I don't even know what it is. He goes, well, I don't know, but my dad used to, my grandpa used to use it. And I've heard my dad use that term, hunyuk,
I've never heard that before.
Whatever a hunyuk is, it can't be good. And my dad would, so my dad always was always looking at the woods, Here's a great story. I was talking to the referee that refereed New London Spicer Glencoe game here. And he said during the game, and he was a guy from up north that likes to hunt, the ref, because we hosted 3 games here Saturday. And he said there were kids, this is the difference between an Eden Prairie kid and a kid from one of these small towns. They're in the huddle in the game, and they're bent over at the huddle, and ducks flew over. And the kid looked up and said, "Hey, ducks!" Right in the middle of the game. The ref thought it was, he's standing right there and saw the kid point up and go, "Ducks." I think that's how my dad is,
I remember I did that story with you and your team back in the late 90s. I spent kind of a week with you guys and rode the bus to the game and all that stuff. And I remember you guys were practicing in the Vikings field house, and Bud came rolling out in his short sleeves and stood there and watched you practice for a while. And he and I just had a little bit of small talk. And I said, "So, what are you doing? Are you going to the game, or are you doing this weekend?" He said, "Well, yeah, but," and he just, and this is inside. This is in a dome kind of thing. He looked up at the sky, where the sky would be, and he held an imaginary shotgun, and he just squeezed off a couple shots. And that was his automatic response.
Yeah. So I think our family, not everyone in my family's that way, but I am. And my wife's a big hunter and fisher woman and loves to do that. But I have books I want to write. I mean, not many people really know what I'm like. I love to read. I love to. There's some things I want to deal with and talk about concerning race. Because we work with a lot of young black men in this school with a group called the Brotherhood that we created a few years ago, which is now expanded into multicultural. But it was really focused on young black men at the time. Now it's a sisterhood. And, we have 70, 80 kids there every week. And we talk about what it's like to grow up in Eden Prairie as a student of color and those challenges. And so there's things I want to work on that. There's things I want to do. There's books what I really want to do is, and this is where it gets tricky, is my dad, he shot a deer last week on 87, shot the deer, got it himself, got it hauled, dragged it up into the car all by himself. I said, "Well, who was there?" He went, "Oh, but I got it done. Don't worry." He goes, "Well, it's just a process. You got to figure out how to get it in there." He said, "I had a little trouble lifting it up into the truck." But I would love to spend a fall hunting with him and write a book about reconnecting with your dad, who, especially for us, when we can peripherally, we used to hunt more together before I started working all these years ago, but I haven't hunted a lot with him since then. And to recreate and bring him back to all the places he wants to go and has been, up in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, to recreate the hunts from 1955 or 1960, and then hear those stories of those hunts. And then what's it like to spend time with your father, and what do you learn when you spend a fall with your father? And I talked to a bunch of people who've lost their fathers, and they're like, "What I would give to have that with your father again." So that's the things I think about now. Then I think about, these kids and what we're doing. Because, this is what I've been telling people. I said, I try to explain to everybody just thinks this is about winning here. And winning only allows you to do the real work. The real work is every day working with young men about how to figure life out and how to get through, because there's so many kids in pain and so many kids that are just trying to figure out how to be a good person and how do you treat people. Winning allows you to do it, because if you didn't win, the parents would run you out eventually. I mean, that's just the reality now of high school sports. You're going to be run out. And not necessarily in a mean way. It just, you're going to reach a point, and coaches reach a point where they go, "Why am I doing this if I'm just going to take this abuse?" And that's going to come when you don't win. And we have nice parents here for the most part. So it didn't, but it's just the reality. So winning allows you to do what the real work is. And the real work is, for us, is having a great coaching staff of great guys. Here's the great picture. I love this picture. All right. All right.
Yep.
Well, if you would look at this man and that player, you wouldn't think this was Eden Prairie. Right.
And for our listeners, this is a photo of 4 guys on the Eden Prairie sideline. I think 3 are black. I can't tell if the 4th is black or not.
Yep. And to see a black quarterback being coached by 2 black coaches who are outstanding people and outstanding men that we want representing, and teaching these kids, that's what winning allows you to do this work, And this is very much different picture than people would think of Eden Prairie. Mm-hmm. But we have, a large population of students of color, And we're doing the best we can to make it a great experience for them, and to in a community and in a part of the metro area, very conservative, very Republican, where we have now a diverse population in our school and all the challenges that go with that, of a changing population, which, look at the inner rings of suburbs that have gone through this. Robbinsdale, St. Louis Park, Richfield, when I was in high school, they were the all-white schools of 1,000 per class. Bloomington. Those were the powerhouse schools, and then they've gone through this transition. And so how do we do this? So, I don't know, that's the work out there, is working with young men. And winning, like I said, just allows you to do that.
When I walked in, there was a box full of, I think, tangerines and snack bars on this chair. What's that from, and how do you use that?
Well, we when we went over to Eastridge, it was kind of a long trip, and we left early, and we fed the kids, oranges and snacks. When we got there early and tried to make it as much like a home game as you could, where we had meetings and weren't rushed to get off the bus. So we have the leftovers, but we have lots of kids in this building that don't eat breakfast, that don't have lunch, that don't, and they'll come in, and so we just make it available to all these kids, and they know to come here. They know to come to student activities. If they need something, our student activity staff will take care of it, and it's a real blessing to be able to help kids, and they don't have to feel shamed by it. They'll come in and go, "Hey, Coach, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And what do you got?" And so we just find them something. Now, we also do that. We feed kids during two-a-days now. We have food available for kids that, what I found with two-a-days, which was new, just didn't know, and I should have known, but didn't know. We have kids that get up, don't eat anything at breakfast, have no lunch, no transportation home. They don't eat any lunch, and so they would be going into their second practice without having eaten anything all day. I can't even imagine.
I can't imagine. I couldn't do it.
No, and then we expect them to practice great.
Yeah.
When they have no energy, their food, and so we actually provide food during those two-a-days for kids, and they just know they can come in here, and we've got, water and food and Gatorades and different things that we have for them during those two-a-days. And then we have a study table that we do 3 nights a week during the season, where right after practice, and each of our coaches will volunteer a night, and I'm there most nights. Some nights I got to leave, but we bring them in, and there's probably 20 to 30 athletes that come in to study table, where we're helping them home, but we also feed them 3 nights a week. Our parents feed them. So our parents, Wednesday night we have Sloppy Joe night and homemade cookies and bars every night for these kids. And we found that their grade point averages have increased because they've got an hour and a half of homework time that's dedicated to that with their computers, with adults. And then we had volunteer tutors came in this year from the school to work with kids on things. And we've seen a real change in kids in that. But we also have kids that get A's and B's that come to it and they go, "Coach, this is the best meal I have all day. If I went home, I'd go home to nothing."
Wow.
And so I just come and do my study in here. So that's what I'm saying, is that winning allows you to do the real work. And the real work is trying to get kids to be great young men and women, so when they leave here, they got opportunities for themselves.
So you talk about eventually maybe transitioning to writing books, spending time with your father. Does that mean that this would be your last coaching stop, or is that always in play too?
Well, I think John Gallardi told me he was going to retire in when he was 57. I remember talking to John. I was coaching at St. John's at the time, and I know the president of the school, Father Hillary Timish, was saying, Mike, if you stay, you'll be the next guy, and John will be just a year or two. And this is 1987. And I said to him, and I go, "Father," and I knew Father well, I said, "John is not retiring anytime soon." Father was only out by like 25 years on his retirement. I don't think it would be my last coaching. I don't think so, but I don't know. I may find that my days are full, with that. So I haven't made any decisions on what I'm going to do. There's just there comes a point in the career, and maybe you haven't hit that yet, where you start looking and going, you know what? There isn't that much time left.
I've started doing that.
And you go, and this is something I'd like to do. My wife's got a few more years of teaching that she has to do. So I got to make sure I retire a few years before her so I can go do what I got to do. No, but I mean, we want to go to Alaska, and there's things we want to be able to go do and travel. And I'd love to stand on the beaches of Normandy on June 6th. I mean, I just would love to be there one day on June 6th. And if you're coaching football and working in a school, you're not there on June 6th.
Right.
And so there's things like that. I don't need to go see Rome, and I don't need to, but I love to go to Norway, and I would like to go to New Zealand. So there's things that I want to see that aren't maybe main tourist things, but there's things that I taught history for a long time, and that generation of people, just to think sitting there on June 6th, on the day that these men and women came on shore, however many years ago it would be a powerful thing, I think. Have you ever been there?
I have not, and that's on my list too. And of course, I've seen Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers and all that, and I've always been fascinated by, to me, the most fascinating span of American history is not Revolutionary War stuff. It's from the beginning of Hitler's rise through the Cold War. That's fascinating.
Yeah, that's the same with me. Yeah, when you teach history, and I taught history, you can see where kids, World War I wasn't that interesting.
It really wasn't.
No, but to that generation, to our kids, World War II, and maybe it's because of the movies and stuff that they know a little bit more, but it's an interesting dynamics of that. So I wouldn't mind teaching again. I love teaching. Not necessarily, even if it was at college. Someone might hire me to coach football again if I left here. But, I don't know. There's, like I said, there's lots of things I'd like to do. But, yeah, what's interesting about coaching and being here in Eden Prairie is I don't get much time to think about it because every day is filled with what are we going to get done today. And we're looking towards next year. Like, we're telling our kids this week in practice, one of the benefits of getting to the prep bowl is I said, we're coaching 2 teams now. We're coaching this year's team, and we're trying to finish it out. But we're coaching next year's. And I said, and we're counting down how many practices we open with Totino next year. On August 23rd, Saturday, August 22nd, we open with Totino. And we're preparing for that game right now with the kids that we have. So at the end of practice, we are done with our starter, and all of our lower level kids are all practicing, and we're watching them and we're teaching as we continue to try to improve. Because we say, listen, guys, you've only got 21 practices, so you got to play on Saturday against Totino Grace next year. We got to get ready. And, it motivates those kids to practice well because they know their time will come next year, and they got to be ready.
Right. You have a favorite story about your father?
I'll tell you a great story. It's a great story. You know what? Of course, the older you get, the more the stories can just entertain you. It doesn't really matter.
That's okay. Entertain yourself.
Well, because I tell the kids all the time, because we'll crack a joke, and we're always laughing at practice. And I tell the kids, and I saw in the Tonight Show one time, a comedian came on and said a joke, and he laughed. No one got it. He says, you know what? Sometimes it's just for me. So I tell our players all the time, guys, sometimes it's just for me. You don't have to laugh. Sometimes I just say them because I think it's humorous. And when you get older, you can do that because they got to respect the fact that you can just say a joke and laugh. But here's a story I would tell about my dad, which is the epitome of my father. Red McCombs owned the Vikings. I'm going to say obvious things that most people would know. Owned a huge hunting land down in Texas. Bud, come down. You want to go turkey hunting, all right? So he goes down. Now, Red's not a hunter. He just owns things. Mm-hmm. That's his business, his owning thing. And I will say right now, Red McCombs could not have been nicer to me, could not have been a better person to me. I love Red McCombs. He is, I think, a tremendous guy. That's my experience with him.
He took me, when I was researching the story, I ended up getting on his private plane and going to his place in Colorado, which is just, I think, near Durango, Colorado. It's just stunningly beautiful.
Yeah. He had the taste for the magnificent.
Oh, yes, he did.
I mean, he one time he had a place down there where he had animals, giraffes and everything in Texas. And he told my dad, he said, I love all this, but my kids and grandkids, they don't love all that. He said, I've built all this thing that they would have a place to go and they want to play video games or they want to play, And he said, and it's a little bit with the football team, I think, as well. that he saw. I always give Red credit, and I'm sorry to get off the subject,
Go.
but Red, I think, absolutely understood that he was not going to get a stadium built.
Yes.
And that's why I know people think he was cheap and everything else, but I just know the one year when they had Moss and Carter and Cunningham, they were so over the salary cap, and it hurt them for years to come with what they did because they spent the money to have that team that could have won it.
Absolutely. That's exactly what happened. He bought the team, and he realized they had a chance to win. And I think originally he was going to get rid of Denny and maybe kind of go cheap. And then he realized they had a chance to win a Super Bowl, and he signed Denny to the long-term deal. He spent over the salary cap. Basically, Jeff Diamond became the guy who said, we're going for it now. And it did hurt him down the road. Yeah, because it screwed him up with however that works in the NFL. And Jeff kind of got the bad reputation of not being able to manage. Right. And Jeff was a great guy. Is a great guy. Yes.
And Jeff got that reputation like, he couldn't manage. Well, they spent to win it. Mm-hmm. Red was not cheap. He was not a cheap guy that way. Once they went through that, I think Red said, you know what? I don't want to move the team. Mm-hmm. He told me this. I spent time with Red, and I knew him pretty well. I said, I don't want to move this team. This is Minnesota's team. I don't want to move it to San Antonio. I don't want to do it. I don't think I can get this done. And I'm gonna sell it, and hopefully the next guy. It's almost like he did a favor to the people of Minnesota because he could have sold it to L.A. and spread
Absolutely.
it. He could have done it, and he didn't. He didn't do the Norm Green.
Exactly.
And so I always respected Red. So anyway, Red invites down. So he's got two young bucks running this hunting club, right? And so they hunt all day with my dad. Now they can't even keep up because my dad, a little bit younger than he could hunt all day, turkey hunt now. All right. So they get back. And they have this big meal. If you can imagine, a big meal of steak and all this stuff, and my dad can live on a banana, and a can of peaches, right? So they have a big dinner. Now my dad sitting there reading the paper, and Red had told them, "You entertain Bud." If you imagine how Red, you take care of whatever Bud wants, you take care of him. But what do you want to do? These guys are asking my dad, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" He says, we got a jukebox. You want to listen to the jukebox? We got a beautiful jukebox. We got Shania Twain. We got there. My dad, no. Hey, there's a nice place up the road. You want to go play pool? We'll go up there. Music. You want to go up there? No. You want to play cards? We'll play cards. We got a great table over here. We want to play cards. And finally, after multiple attempts of trying to entertain my dad, the only my dad could do, drops the newspaper down, says, you know what I like? And they go, well, what? Quiet. Puts the paper back up. The two guys sat there for the rest of the night. Now, the older you get, the more you understand that story.
Yes.
A young person may not understand that story, but the older you get, you know what I like? Quiet. I understand that better than I did 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And that's a story of my dad. You know what I like? Quiet.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and so that's my favorite story of my dad. And he may not even remember doing it, but a friend of mine was in the room at the time and saw the whole thing unfold.
That's awesome.
And you know how my dad could put you in a place with one word.
Yeah.
Quiet.
Yeah.
But my dad could say it, and that affects everybody in the room.
No question about it. That's great. Do you have a favorite either Sid Hartman story or Bud playing a prank on Sid Hartman's story?
Well, I was young when a lot of these things were going on with Sid. So I've only heard and read about all the pranks on Sid. So I can't tell you I was part or around all of those other than the ones that I've heard. But I go back to Sid. I do remember vividly being 4 or 5 years old, coming down from Winnipeg, going to Cafe de Napoli in downtown Minneapolis, and my dad said that's where they used to go at the University of Minnesota when Sid would take them out to eat, and my mom and him. And my dad said he liked it because you could get all the spaghetti for $1. For $1 you could eat as much spaghetti. And at that time, my dad was never on athletic scholarship at the U. And a lot of people think he was. No, he was on the GI Bill. He was never on athletic scholarship. GI Bill. So he lived in poverty during the whole time of the U. And he'll tell you that Sid is the guy that got him through. That Sid would buy. And my dad gets very nostalgic going to the U. And another good story, my son was playing for Minnesota, and they're playing Air Force in the first game of the new stadium at the U. TCI, I should know the name, we're playing there tomorrow, to TCF. And so they invited my dad to come to that game and be at the game and everything. So I'm driving down there, and I said, well, Dad, what's the last Gopher game you went to? And he goes, well, what was the last game I played in? He'd never been to a Gopher game since he had played.
Wow.
I mean, it's an incredible thing.
It is.
To think. But you figure from where he left there, he played every fall. He coached every fall. And, falls are made for being in the woods and out in the field. And he ain't going to go drive down and stand in line with a ticket and find a bench to sit on. So, anyways, when we drive down there, he'll always say, he'll look at that little theater there right in Dinkytown. He said, your mom and I used to go there every Wednesday night. She lived in St. Paul, and she'd take now it's light rail, but there was a streetcar. She'd take the streetcar from St. Paul, meet me here. He said, we'd go by, and he said it was, I don't know what it cost, $0.25 to go, maybe. And he said it's the only date we could afford, and we'd share a box of popcorn for $0.25, and we went to a movie tells me every time, he gets tears in his eyes, every time he tells the story. It's amazing. Wow. But so the nostalgia of that, and then for Sid to pick him up in the convertible and drive him to downtown Minneapolis, and I don't know, maybe there was a streetcar that went there. I don't even know. Maybe there probably was that went to downtown. But they go down to Cafe de Napoli and have all the spaghetti you could eat. He said because he lived in the top floor of the old stadium, Memorial Stadium, with Billy Bye. I don't know if Jim Molosky was there with them, but they lived in a triple bunk with one light bulb. That was where they lived their freshman year. I mean, he said that's how those guys all became, such good friends. Because he said they had one little locker, and then you had a triple bunk and one light bulb that hung down over a table in the middle of the room, and no meal plan. Wow. And so Sid was the savior. Then the next year, or within a year or so, he joined a fraternity down University, and he'll point out which building it was. And he would walk down there, and he'd stop at that little drugstore, and he'd buy 5 candy bars. That was all he ate during the day, 5 candy bars for $0.25.
Wow.
And I think they were paydays or something, and he would buy 5 candy bars, and that was his meals for the day. That's why he weighed 175 pounds and 6'3", because he said they never, even in the Depression growing up, I tell this story of my dad. I'm sorry if I'm rambling here.
No, go.
When I teach history, we talk about the Depression. I said, my dad grew up in the Depression, born in 1927, so he's right there. I said, his entertainment, there were 3 things he loved to do. And they go, well, what? I said, this is what they did as a kid. I said, he invented the first video game type, shooting video game. They go, what? Well, they'd go down to the town dump, him and his dad, and they had a .22 at night. A big town dump. Everybody just dumped themselves. And they'd pull the car up, and my grandpa would turn on the lights, and all the rats would be running all over. And my dad would shoot them with the .22 until they all disappear, and then they'd wait, 3-4 minutes, turn the light on again, shoot them with the .22. The kids will look at you like that was the entertainment. Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a video game, right? I mean, you're shooting things. So the second thing, on Saturday mornings, there was a hardware store right there in Superior. He grew up right by Central High School, right down in that area. Anyway, so there was a hardware store, and in the hardware store there was a barrel, and in the barrel were wood baseball bats, and you couldn't touch them, And he said we'd walk down there and stare at them all week. On Saturday mornings, the owner would let him take a bat out and swing it. The kids look at you like, oh, that was his entertainment. He waited for Saturday morning so he could take, because they would have different weights and different, baseball was bigger probably even than it is today for kids, and you could swing the bat on Saturday morning. And then I always finish it off. I said, and then they had when the ice truck would come by for the ice box, and they'd bring chunks of ice, in the summer. And he said they'd wait behind that thing and wait, and eventually, when they get the tongs on there, a chunk of ice would fall off, and they'd eat it. And that was the entertainment. And the kids would go, well, that was it? I go, yeah, I mean, he never took a shower until he went to high school. They had no showers. You know, they had a bathtub in the basement, an open basement, dirt floor, and they had a bathtub down there, and his mom would take a bath once in a while, but they'd take baths, but he never had a shower. So when he went to high school, it was the greatest thing, because now you finally, he said, I would have been 6'5". His brother was taller than him, but he had to sleep on a couch in the front room in a narrow, they lived in when they finally bought a place, one room, they rented the upstairs, and not as wide as this. And I think it's still there, and they had a couch in the front, and he had to sleep curled up. He said, if I could have stretched out, I could have been 6'4", 6'5". But I never was able to straighten my legs when I slept. So those are the things when you say, well, what do you want to do? What a chance to relive those stories.
Oh, man.
You know, and to be able to spend a fall reliving those stories. And think, when you hunt, you sit there in a duck blind. Because there's no ducks anymore, but I mean, you sit there and you talk, and you that's what you do. People think hunting is about shooting something. Yeah, duck hunting, probably more than anything, you're in a duck blind. You talk, of course, then he'll give you the shh. Then okay, well, I can't talk for a while. Him and Bob, Bob Lassard, the state senator from International Falls, yep. The Lassard legacy bill. Bob Lassard and him are heading to Nebraska to go hunting. I want to say Nebraska. A lot of these stories, there might be a little bit off. Whether Nebraska or Kansas or wherever, they were going to go hunting. And Bob, outgoing, gregarious guy, and my dad says something to him as they're leaving his house in Bloomington, why are you talking so much, or something like that. And Bob said, well, that's what I'm not going to talk. Neither one said a word to Nebraska. They never spoke. Bob said, I wasn't going to say anything. He said that to me. My dad, he likes quiet. So they drove to Nebraska and neither one of them talked the whole way. Only my father could have, that experience with somebody where he's comfortable not talking.
That's amazing. I've kind of joked about this, but, a lot of animal rights activists are upset that the new Vikings stadium is going to potentially have birds flying into it, hitting and dying. And my solution has always been station Bud out front with a shotgun. Everybody's happy.
Yeah, they love that. I'm sure the PETA people think that's the greatest. That'll be interesting. But there's got to be lots of other things out there in the world that the birds are hitting.
Like every building ever built.
Yeah.
Yes. Every building with glass ever built.
Yeah, that would. So I'm not sure how this one became the focal point of that. I mean, and I'm all for, and listen, I'm a conservationist, and my wife is huge in that. I'm not seeing that like I would see other things in conservation.
I agree with you on that one. Let me ask you kind of a pointed question. You've won so much here. Your school district is so large. You have so many perceived advantages. Do you feel like targeted? Do you feel like people are jealous of you? Do you feel like people take shots at you? Does any of it bother you?
I don't read the paper, and I don't read your comment sections at the end.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's actually, when you're in college and high school, or college and pros, I mean, you're getting, you're open, but high school kid, I'm really disturbed by what I've heard people have said about kids on those sites. And I know a parent, we had a former parent here, they moved, they were disgruntled. Well, the dad was on as a high school kid. And our kids knew that this was the dad, and he had his thing, and he was going out pretending he was a high school kid, ripping everybody, and that. So I'm still kind of a purist of this is high school sports, and play the game, and at the end of the season, go play another sport, and go do your other things. That this isn't the. We tell our kids all the time that listen, if we lose, and we can't win every game, we'll give ourselves 10 minutes. That's it, because you know what? If this is the worst thing that happens to you in your life. What a great life you're going to have. Mm-hmm. We're just going to sell. We get beat tomorrow night. You're not going to. I mean, I think there'll be tears from some of the kids, but more about not about losing. It had nothing to do with losing. We are all understand that you can't win every game. It's going to be about not being together for another. That this is the end of this group of kids. So I think people take shots at us. I don't know. I don't really read it. I don't pay attention. Some people pay attention to it. I know there's lots of people that pull for us, and lots of people, our alumni and all our people that know how we operate and how we do things and how we're kid-focused. What's amazing to me is people think we're all about winning and we're all about that when it's just such the opposite of what we talk about with our kids. Yesterday I talked about the opportunity to win a 10th state title in for the first time this year. I mean, we don't even bring it up. We just, every week is, let's win, we can be together another week. Let's just win and be together another week. That's really what we talk about. And I mean, you've been around us a little bit. We go back in the 90s. I mean, when you come to our practices, there's a lot more talk about hunting and fishing and other things that go on than we got to be driven and focused. And you know what? There's times where I go, we should be more focused. And we had a guy at practice yesterday, and they must wonder how we ever win a game. I'm serious. And they're football people. That must wonder, well, it was Corbin Lucino, and he's going to broadcast the game. And I tried to recruit Corbin when he was a high school senior when I was working at St. John's. And Dave Lee, they came by just to be at practice. And I go, and Corbin must wonder what we do. 'Cause it looks like we're milling around. I mean, it looks like we're milling around and not completely focused and not. But I think when people ask about leadership, I say, one thing I learned from my dad is nothing happened on the Viking practice field without him approving of what was going on. So even when it appeared that, that's not normally how people do things, that wasn't random. So if you come to our practice, there's nothing random about it. It is exactly how our coaching staff envisioned practice to be. It's not like they don't, because we want our kids to love being at practice. We want them to love being around everybody. And we want them to say the best part of their day is to come to practice. Now, we can work hard. Work hard is part of fun. And our kids work hard, and they work very, 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 very hard in the off season. I mean, harder than I can even appreciate. I mean, I thank them all the time for what they've done. I go, you guys, because they have done it. And they're the ones that have put the work in. But nothing happens randomly. I learned that from Gallardi, too. You watch John, nothing, if John didn't like something, it would change. He wasn't just ignoring everything. My dad saw everything. I absolutely see everything that goes on in the field. There's nothing there. And if I had a problem, like one of our kids said to me, and he's a new kid to our program, I said, hey, come in, I wanted to talk to you here in the hall. Am I in trouble? I said, why would you say that? I said, if you were in trouble, I wouldn't do this in front of the whole group.
Right.
I said, you and I'd find a way to talk to you. I said, right, I'm not going to announce it in front of the group. And it was nothing. I just had to ask him a question about something. And he goes, you know what? That's what I appreciate about this place. That if we have a trouble with a kid, we'll find a way. And I learned that from my dad. My dad might see something he doesn't like on the field. It might take him 40 minutes to mosey over to a player. But at some point in the practice, you'll see him next to the guy that he didn't like. And a lot of it was how they would kneel or sit on the field or take their helmet, something. And he would walk over, and eventually you'd see he'd have a conversation with that guy. And then you'd never see him do it again. Rather than screaming and yelling and swearing. And I was trying to explain to our kids the other day that when you get to college football, college athletics, the F word is a verb, adverb, noun. I mean, it is everywhere, and I said, it's so much different here, that we just don't allow any swearing, and we don't allow the kids to swear. We don't allow, our coaches to swear. Our coaches aren't that way, And I said, well, you get to college, it's a rude awakening for some people.
Absolutely. Yeah. How's Rick Spielman as a football father?
Perfect. I never talk to him unless I call him and talk about how JD's doing. Rick's been great. Now, we've had a number of Rick's kids over the years. Not 4 of them have played.
Yeah.
We had Ronnie last year. Then we had 2 older boys that weren't necessarily great athletes. One was a lineman, one was a kid that came in, and I don't even know if he was eligible because he might have just transferred. But he was a wrestler, and Rick has been just nothing but tremendous. just tremendously supportive. And, like any coach, people look at what we do and they think we're crazy, that we're not throwing this or we're not doing, our parents all get upset when we don't throw the ball enough. But Rick, just one thing you understand is a coach has got to coach, and you just let them do their work.
Kind of off topic here. Jerry Kill's been here for a while now. He's got things rolling pretty good over there. How do you view him as the head coach of the Division I program in town? Has he reached out to high school coaches? Does he have a good relationship with high school coaches? Do you see him getting more recruits, top-level recruits from Minnesota?
Well, I've been working on his voice, and all I have right now is rivalry game. It's the only thing I have. I say that to my wife all the time. Rivalry game. This is a rivalry game we got with Iowa. I like Jerry a lot. My son played for him. My son really enjoyed playing for Jerry. My son wasn't a great player. Was a backup player for Jerry and his coaching staff. What Jerry has, what I'll tell you, what all I think really good coaches have is he has a complete vision, like I said, about what it looks like. Jerry, when he walks on the field, everything that happens there, he knows exactly how it should look, and it might be different than how I would do things, but he has a vision. Glenn Mason had that too. Glenn had a definite vision of how he wanted things to look. He had that vision, and I really like Tim Brewster. I liked him personally. If I would say one thing about Tim, and I say it to his face, as a relatively new coach, I don't know that he knew exactly how he wanted it to look out there. I think he had the knowledge, but as a head coach, you have to know exactly how you want everything to be, from pregame warm-up, everything, and you got to be able to communicate. And I think Tim jumped from things, and he jumped from coordinators, and he had different offenses, and I think he came across even different than he is. I know I called Tim after he left and just said how much I appreciated he gave my son an opportunity and to play Big Ten football, and he was very very really happy that I had called him, because he didn't leave with a lot of people saying thanks to him, but Jerry is a good guy. I mean, he reminds me a little bit of Tom Kelly, in that Tom was all about baseball.
Yep.
I mean. And Jerry's all about football. I mean, Jerry is a football junkie. And I'm saying that in a positive way.
Right.
But Tom Kelly was that way.
Absolutely.
He was a junkie that everything. He loved the game, all the nuances of the game. He lived and died baseball. I mean, you know that better. You followed him how many years?
Long time.
Long time. But they can get a little bit goofy sometimes too, and Jerry will come across that way a little bit sometimes because he's so. He's a true football coach, Where my dad was a football coach, that, there are a lot of other things. If he was most comfortable sitting at a little restaurant talking where the geese were flying, If he had a choice of who he was going to hang with, he would hang out with Milt Osnes up in Fergus, who's his good friend, and talk hunting. That's where my dad's comfort level is. Jerry's comfort level is football.
Yeah.
Football. And he treats people really well. I admire and respect Jerry a lot. I think, I think, and I would hope that he would, if you look at how many Minnesota kids he's offered, it isn't that many.
Right.
And there are that marginal kid that I would like to see them offer, that I think could be great players for the Gophers because they bleed maroon and gold, But Jerry has a vision of what he wants each guy to look like, and so he'll recruit all over the country to bring in people, all right? I just would do that a little bit differently. But that's me. What do I know? I just coach high school. Seriously. I tell these recruiters, I have no clue how you recruit. We had a great offensive tackle last year. Robert Olson was a great player, a great athlete. 4.0 almost, 30-something ACT, and they weren't interested because he was 6'4.5", and I said, I think this kid's going to be in the NFL. Because he has all of it. And they said, thanks for your input.
Well, they're wrong a lot, too.
Yeah. And this kid went out to Oregon State, and I think he's going to play in the Pac-12, and I think he's going to play in the NFL someday.
Wow.
And so that's what I say. I have no idea how people recruit. I don't anymore, because the whole new thing of this 4-star stuff and 3-star, which is, I think, why Notre Dame went into a huge dip for a long time, is they said they had to recruit 4-star guys. Well, 4-star, based on, these reports, were the most inaccurate things. We had players on our team that never played for us, were 6-string kids who, because they had enough money and because they got to these websites, were rated as 3-star people who had never played a game for us.
Right.
And so he's a 3-star. Well, based on what? We had Jay Foreman, Chuck's son, Jay played for us. Went to Nebraska, 3-year starter, 2-time national champion. And when he had been a senior, he had been dinged up a little bit, and he went to the U practice, and he ran a 4.9. Okay. Well, when the Lemming report came out, when Wisconsin took him and signed him, the Lemming report ripped Wisconsin. Okay, ripped him for signing because he was it. Well, the Lemming report had never seen him play, never seen film. They were basing it on what a graduate assistant said to a former writer. I don't even know what the guy's name was that used to do the beat Gopher, the St. Paul paper, who then called Lemming, and that was part. So I get a call after signing day from a reporter from the Nebraska paper. Says, I got the phone call because he had said what a bad choice this was, and he wasn't that good a player. I got a call last night that no reporter in Nebraska ever wanted to get. I said, what are you talking about? He says, Coach Osborne called me and said, I will write a news story today, or I will never, ever have access to anything at Nebraska again. He said, so I need to write a news story today. I should have called you the first time. Tell me about Jay Foreman. Okay. And he only played 8 years in the NFL.
Right.
And went on and was there like a 3-year starter, like I said, for them. And so those reports just don't matter. So I worry about, and I think this is where Jerry does a good job. Is Jerry not so worried about that as he is? We know what our team looks like and what we need to recruit. I think that's what he does. Other schools may recruit 4-stars. How do you have a 4-star in 10th grade? Or 11th grade. I don't know how they do it, but now you're rated by the time you're in 10th grade, end of your 10th grade, you're rated already. You might grow 60 pounds. You may, So. Anyways, but no, I couldn't be happier that Jerry's at the U.
So you got Prep Bowl Friday night. What are you going to do on Saturday?
Well, my son plays for Duluth.
Okay.
So they were playing in the national playoff game.
Awesome.
Now, the discussion has come, are we leaving Friday night after the game to go hunt Wisconsin, deer hunt that morning, at my dad's place. So that still hasn't been decided. I know my brothers and I have talked to Dad about we'd like to come and hunt with him. Even there are no deer in northern Wisconsin. None. But we would like to do that with him as long as he can do it. And so we'd like to come up. And he's like, well, there's no deer. Okay, but the point is that, it's been a few years since we've done a family hunt, and we'd like to come up, but there's no deer. Okay. I got it, Dad. There's no deer, but now he may go up after the game.
Ah.
But he's torn because Pat is his lady friend. I don't know how to describe Pat. Pat, member of our family now, who, ever since my mom passed away, Pat and my dad have become very close. And Pat is a big Mankato booster. She lives in Mankato. So she wants to go to the Mankato West game, and she's a big Viking fan, would like to go to the Viking game, and my dad would like to be in the woods. With all the snow, even if there's no deer. I think he's thinking of going up. I don't know how an 87-year-old thinks.
You've given us a window into how they think.
Yeah, but I think an 87-year-old person thinks about how many left.
Yeah.
So even if there's no deer and there's 14 inches of snow in the woods, how many more you got? And so I think he's thinking about that. And thinking, I'm going to go, and if he's going to go, I was talking to my wife last night.
Pretty little head.
I don't need to go. Our parents, if we win this thing, we never go out. I don't go out. and I just soon drive to the cabin and get up there late and get up and hunt and then go to the Duluth game and watch Duluth play Northwest Missouri. And then come back. We got our banquet Sunday night. We start, and then we'll have, I'll meet with all of our kids Monday, and we get ready for next year. And our weight training starts the week after, and our kids know that that Monday, kids that aren't in a winter sport, and we tell you, we want you in a winter sport. Go out for wrestling. Go out, do those things. If you're not, we invite you to be part of our program, and we'll get a lot of kids down there, and they'll be counting down the days. I mean, literally, they'll count down the days till it's their time to be, and that's really what it's about. They're waiting in my time to be the guy to carry the tradition, and that's kind of the cool part of the whole thing. Is I love being in the weight room more than anything. I hate games. I mean, games are of no fun to me at all.
Why? Because you're too nervous?
Well, it's just stress.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't sit there and enjoy. It's not. I'm more sit around and tell a story with kids. I mean, in the weight room, you get in there and you get to know them and talk to them and find out what's going on. Everyone's just stressed out at a game.
Yeah.
Now, it's not to say that I don't. You can gain satisfaction without having fun. So it's not fun, but there's great satisfaction in a game, and I think that's what people don't always understand, because if we win or lose, we're not going to... My dad always puts it in perspective, I think, and I think about this a lot, is that he'll say to me, well, if I'd won, let's say we'd won all 4 Super Bowls, how would my life be any different today? And I don't know. He said, and he doesn't know. He said, I don't know if we'd won one. What would have been different? I might have got a little bit more money, or, he said, I got enough money. I got my cabin. I mean, what? And so it's interesting. So, as we go into Friday, I try to explain it to the kids without making it sound like I don't care if we win. Because it matters if we win. And, I tell the story, and I got to see if I can get emotionally through it at tonight we'll have a dinner tonight. They want me to say a few things. They'll say, it's not that it doesn't matter. Because it matters, if you go back to, it began to matter in 1996 when Ryan Iverson caught, the winning touchdown pass against Blaine. And then you start giving the list of all the great players that have played here and what they've done. It matters to them. I said, they may not be at the game, but the first thing they're going to check. They're going to be on the internet, or they're going to be somewhere. They're going to check. It matters. But it's not everything. And the everything is the journey we've been on. And we'll talk about today at practice, because we'll have all of our parents and everybody comes to practice today and just watches. And I said, it's the journey for most of these kids, most of them some third grade football, for the seniors. Third grade to here. That's where I always get the moms crying.
Yeah.
Because you start thinking about everything they've done together. It's special. So.
That's a great place to end. This is a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking
the
time.
You bet. Yeah, it's great to see you again.
It was awesome. Good to see you too. I'll see you at the game.
Yeah.
Once again, that was Mike Grant sitting with Jim Souhan at Mike's office in Eden Prairie, at Eden Prairie High School. By the time you listen to this, you might know the result of the 6A championship game, Eden Prairie against Totino Grace. Whatever the result, Mike might be going into the woods with his dad at some point. And I would love to read a book written by Mike Grant. He's always thought a lot about this stuff. Other people care more about his football success. I just find him to be an interesting guy. I appreciate him taking the time. Again, this is Souhan Unfiltered. You can find it at SouhanUnfiltered.com. And thanks for listening.
Save it for a rainy day.